Identifying your triggers and discovering your buttons. Triggers are like invisible buttons within us. When someone or something pushes one of those buttons, we react automatically, often without thinking. These reactions can be emotional, like feeling hurt, angry, or anxious, or they can be behavioral, such as withdrawing or lashing out. Understanding and identifying your triggers is essential to gaining control over these reactions and responding in ways that align with your goals and values. So, what are triggers? Triggers are specific situations, people, or events that stir up a strong emotional reaction within us, often linked to past experiences or deeply held beliefs. Triggers can vary from person to person, but common examples include criticism. If criticism is a trigger, even a mild comment can feel like a personal attack, sparking feelings of inadequacy, defensiveness, or anger. Avoidance. If being ignored or feeling unseen is a trigger, someone canceling plans or not responding to a message might make you feel unimportant or rejected. Authority figures. If authority is a trigger, feedback from a boss or parent might immediately bring up feelings of anxiety or resentment. Failure or setbacks. If failure is a trigger, even minor mistakes or setbacks might lead to feelings of worthlessness or disappointments. These triggers operate like a reflex. Once a button is pushed, the subconscious mind jumps in with pre-programmed responses, often linked to past experiences where we felt vulnerable or hurt. So, why identifying these triggers is important? Knowing your triggers allows you to pause, understand, and redirect your reactions instead of acting automatically. When you understand your buttons, you can avoid overreactions. Recognize that the intensity of our response may be more about the trigger than the actual situation at hand. You can gain an insight. You can understand that triggers reveal areas where there might be unresolved emotions, unmet needs, or limiting beliefs. And instead of reacting impulsively, you can choose how you respond, aligning your actions with your valued and long term goals. So, how do you identify your triggers? Notice strong emotional reactions. Pay attention to times when you have intense emotions like anger, sadness, or anxiety. These strong emotions are often signs that a trigger has been activated. Ask yourself, what just happened that caused this reaction? Who was involved? What did they say or do? Look for patterns. Over time, you may notice that certain situations, people, or topics consistently bring up strong emotions. These patterns help you pinpoint specific triggers. For example, do you often feel hurt or angry when someone criticizes your work? Do you feel anxious when plans are uncertain? Reflect on your past experiences. Sometimes our triggers are tied to unresolved issues from the past. You can ask yourself, when have I felt like this before? Is there a specific event or relationship that this reaction reminds me of? Identifying physical sensations. Triggers often have physical clues like a tightness in the chest, a pit in the stomach, or a rapid heartbeat. Becoming aware of these sensations, you can help catch your triggers early. Check in with your body. Notice how your body feels when you're triggered. This awareness can serve as an early warning system. Here's an idea. Writing about your experiences, emotions, and reactions can help you uncover triggers that might be hidden. Journaling allows you to process and gain insight into what causes intense responses. When we get triggered, our reactions can vary widely depending on the nature of the trigger, our past experiences, and our coping mechanisms. Here are some common types of reactions people may experience. Emotional reactions. Anger or frustration. Feeling irritated, annoyed, or enraged is common, especially if the trigger challenges our sense of self or safety. Fear or anxiety. Triggers can provoke fear, panic, or worry, particularly if they remind us of past experiences where we felt helpless or threatened. Sadness or hurt. We might feel sadness or emotional pain, especially if the trigger involves rejection, criticism, or loss. Shame or guilt. Feeling unworthy or embarrassed, often in response to criticism or failure, is another common reaction. Defensiveness. Responding by justifying, arguing, or denying to protect ourselves from perceived harm or criticism. Withdrawal or avoidance. Avoiding the person or the situation that triggered us, or shutting down emotionally to prevent further discomfort. Aggression or confrontation. Reacting with hostility, sarcasm, or physical aggression in an attempt to regain control or to protect oneself. People pleasing or over accommodating. Trying to diffuse the situation by being overly agreeable or accommodating, often to avoid conflict or discomfort. Seeking reassurance. Reaching out to friends or loved ones for validation or comfort to alleviate feelings of insecurity or self-doubt. Flight or flight response. Triggers can activate the body's flight or fight response, leading to physical sensations like a racing heart, sweating, or shallow breathing. Freezing or feeling paralyzed. In some cases, the response might be to freeze or to feel temporarily immobilized. Tension or restlessness. Muscle tension, fidgeting, and feeling on edge are common when triggered. Nausea or stomach discomfort. Anxiety and stress related to triggers can also cause physical discomfort like a knot in the stomach or nausea. Cognitive reactions. Negative self-talk. Engaging in harsh self-criticism, doubting oneself, or mentally replaying the triggering event with a negative focus. Catastrophic thinking. Imagining the worst-case scenario, often magnifying the impact of the trigger. Black and white thinking. Viewing things in extremes such as I'm a failure or no one cares about me without seeing shades of gray. Ruminating. Obsessively thinking about the trigger or replaying the situation in the mind, which can amplify stress. Relational reactions. Blaming others. Placing fault on someone else as a way to avoid facing one's own vulnerabilities and discomfort. Distancing. Emotionally withdrawing from others or creating distance in relationships as a way to protect oneself. Seeking control. Trying to control the situation or others to feel safe, which can sometimes come across as manipulative or overly critical. Over-apologizing. Constantly apologizing, even when unnecessary, to smooth over the situation and avoid conflict or rejection. Escape or numbing reactions. Numbing or distraction. Using activities like scrolling or social media, binge watching shows, or eating to distract from uncomfortable feelings. Substance use. Some may turn to alcohol, drugs, or other substances as a way to escape or numb their reaction to the trigger. Understanding and managing these reactions. Recognizing these reactions is the first step to managing them. Instead of being controlled by automatic responses, you can begin to notice patterns, allowing yourself to pause and choose a more thoughtful response. And over time, this awareness can help you respond more calmly and thoughtfully, reducing the power of triggers over your behavior and emotions. Why recognizing triggers helps you take control. Triggers bring to light our automatic reactions, many of which come from past experiences and beliefs that no longer serve us. By identifying your triggers, you become aware of the buttons that make you react without thinking. This awareness allows you to respond consciously, choosing behaviors that align with who you want to be rather than reacting based on old patterns. Learning to identify and manage your triggers empowers you to make intentional choices, fostering healthier relationships and a greater sense of inner peace. With time, you can even transform these triggers into areas of growth, replacing reflexive reactions with thoughtful and empowering responses. Some of you might be feeling triggered by this presentation and perhaps even a bit annoyed, and that's completely normal. When we start to explore why we act a certain way, it can stir up some strong emotions, sometimes even linked to past traumas. Trauma doesn't only mean extreme events. It's any experience where you felt emotionally overwhelmed and didn't have the tools to cope. If you're feeling some of these reactions, know that you are not alone. Many of us carry unresolved experiences simply because we were too young to process them or never learned how to move forward. Now, as adults, we have the chance to process these events in a healthy way, building resilience and emotional strength. You might wonder what this has to do with leadership mindset. A lot, actually. When you understand your own triggers, you gain insight not only into yourself, but also into others. As a leader, this awareness is invaluable. It allows you to see the world through someone else's lens, to understand their reactions, and to connect on a deeper level. By working through your own triggers, you're not just helping yourself, you're also developing a profound skill to lead with empathy and understanding. So let's recap. Triggers are automatic reactions linked to past experiences. By identifying and understanding them, you can choose responses that align with your values, avoiding impulsive reactions. Awareness of triggers strengthens your emotional resilience and helps you lead with intention.